Now this can be a type of lab situation actually, because in lab you don't always have 100 grams to do tons and tons of trials with, or you don't have the equipment to manage 100 grams. 100 gram isn't that much water. It's just if a lot of salt will dissolve, like a lot, like, you know, say there are 500 grams of salt will dissolve in 100 grams of water, then if you're always doing the experiment with the full amount of water, then you're wasting a lot of salt. So sometimes we'll scale down reactions, and that's an example of what's going on with this problem. So it says there was only 25 grams of water available. So remember, this is 100 grams. A salt was added at 80 degrees, and saturation was reached after 30.0 grams of the salt were added. So that's 25 grams of the water, and then this is of the salt. And I always like to set these up as proportional. I learned this a long time ago. Is over of equals percent over 100. So it kind of is similar, but you can also just set it up as like a proportion. If you're trying to figure out how many grams of salt that there are going to be dissolved, and you know that this chart gives me the per 100 grams of water, then that's X, and I can solve for a variable like that. So I'm just going to pull out my calculator, and I'm going to basically cross multiply both sides by the 100. So it's like saying 30 divided by 25 times 100 is equal to X. And in that scenario, I get that X is equal to 120 grams will be how much dissolves in water. And that kind of makes sense if you think about it, because this is like scaling it up times 4 to get to 100. So to scale this up, it's kind of like scaling that up times 4. So now we look on the chart and we find that point, the 120 and the other point on it. So if I go and get my calculator out of the way and I go to my graph, again, I'm going to match up my 80 degrees, and I'm going to match it up with 120, which is about right here. So I'll draw this line kind of through. Let me see if I can do a better line than that. And then if I go up with my 80 and go up a bit, the closest one to that value is going to be the NABR. And of course, this one didn't turn out perfectly, but I would expect that they'd be really, really close. So the salt is NABR. So that one had a few more steps to the process. And then let's look at this one. So at what temperature is the saturation point of sugar if if 88 grams dissolved in 44 grams? So let's see. What we have to do is a similar kind of a process. So we know, again, the 88 over the 40 is equal to X over 100. And so then that, when we do our multiplying, that's going to give us our X term. If I bring over my calculator, 88 divided by 40 times 100. So that tells me that I can get 220 grams of sugar to dissolve. And we want to know at what temperature can I do that at. So I'm going to go up to my sugar. I already have this marked. I've got it at 220. And I go over until I hit the line. And when I hit the line, I go down. And that gets my temperature somewhere around 30 degrees Celsius.